you all for coming. This is the 11th installment of the musical anatomy of a superhero and other heroes. You will not be disappointed. This is going to be one of the best ones. We've got never before scenes from Fantastic Four and Avatar, Fire, and Ash. So I hope you enjoy it. So I'll get right to the introductions. Our first person coming to the stage is the composer of film and TV. His credits include The Muppet Mayhem, Dirty Black Bag. He was recently Emmy nominated for The Penguin, Mick Giacchino. Our next person coming to the stage, he's a composer, a singer, songwriter, a music producer, and he released a 22-song soundtrack for Arcane, which includes the song "What Have They Done to Us?" And he does that under his artist moniker of Mako, Alex Seaver. Our next person coming to the stage, he's an Emmy Award-winning composer. He co-scored films like Free Solo with Mark Beltrami, as well as World War Z, Logan, and Twilight Zone. And he's also a recent Emmy nominee for his score to Andor, Brandon Roberts. And then our final panelist, he's a multi-award-winning composer, producer of film, classical, contemporary music. He collaborated a lot with his friend, the late James Horner. He was the lead arranger and producer on films such as Amazing Spider-Man, Titanic, first Avatar, and he scored Avatar: Way of Water, and now Avatar: Fire and Ash. Simon Franglen.
Yeah.
Now, our moderator, I take my name away. I bring this guy you may have heard before. He's an Oscar-winning composer. He did that comes out today or tomorrow in theaters. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Giacchino.
Thursday morning in Comic-Con. How many people have been to this panel before? Thank you for getting up early. Thank you for coming. We have some extra seats here, so we'll be calling you up as we get into this today. We have some awesome people here today. We're going to talk to them about different things. But if you've been here before, you kind of know how this goes. I kind of like just to get to know who they are as people. We can watch and listen to the work, but let's start asking them some fun questions about who they are and what do they like. So we're going to start with this guy right here, Mick Giacchino. All right, Mick. What score that whenever you hear it always stops you in your tracks and just makes you go, wow, that is one of your favorite things ever? What is it?
I mean, I think it has to be Close Encounters. I mean, just the way that theme is woven into the film and used as just a method of communication between these two beings. And, again, music is a universal language.
Yeah. I remember Close Encounters. I remember I just got that soundtrack when I was sick. I was staying home from school one day. I was really sick. And my dad, to make me feel better, went to bought it at a Pathmark grocery store. He got me the Close Encounters soundtrack. That tells you what a nerd I was. Do you ever write music that's just for you?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's usually when I'm supposed to be doing something else. That's how I procrastinate, just, dishes or laundry and all that, but, yeah.
So is it stuff that you released? Is it just for you, just doing it on the side? What are you writing?
I mean, it's mainly for me, but then with the possibility of releasing maybe someday. I mean, I have an instrumental EP that's out. It just came from, I wanted to do a minimalist piece, and a lot of it is experimentation, learning, and just trying new things. And then, I don't know, I think it's good enough, which is never, then, I don't know, I'll put it out.
All right, sounds good. All right, favorite toy as a kid?
Ooh, hey, you know what? Okay, probably is this voice-activated R2D2 that is about like 2 feet tall. It was I found it recently, and it still works.
He sent me a video of it bringing him a beer.
Yeah, it has a little claw, and a little cup holder. So of course, you know, I was like, hey, R2, bring me a beer, and he walked right over to me.
Favorite TV show as a kid?
Ooh, probably Batman the Animated Series. I would say Justice League as well was another one, but all of those DC animated series were so good, and the music was just some of the best stuff. I was talking about Shirley Walker. I talk about Shirley Walker so often. She's one of my favorites. Just that her Batman theme, sorry, is one of my favorites.
Hey, I hope I actually didn't. Please give it up for Shirley Walker because she was. You don't know her stuff. It's unbelievable. All right. Let's see. And your favorite. You know what? You brought a clip. What are we gonna watch?
We're going to watch a clip from The Penguin. So if you have not seen the show, this is episode 4. It's kind of a turning point. Yeah, it's a little intense.
All right. So what was that like working on something where obviously you love the Batman, you love that whole world. What was it like when you didn't have to contribute to that environment, to that character? What was that like?
I mean, the first time I saw the film, Colin Farrell was one of the parts of it that I just instantly fell in love with, and he's so charismatic in this series. But one of my favorite parts of the show was Kristen Milioti. Her performance was absolutely amazing. And again, being a big Batman fan growing up, this was a dream come true, and it was so exciting to try to do something different with him, with the character, and really kind of figure out what makes him tick.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Okay, now, here we go. Are you ready for this?
Is it the same questions?
Same question. The first person is the only one who gets to hear them before we come up here, because you guys all get to hear, everyone else gets to hear. So, here we go. All right, what score always stops you in your tracks every time you hear me?
Yeah, so this isn't really from childhood, but when I saw How to Train Your Dragon, I was just like really lost. I was in college, and something about that movie and that score just flicked me online. It's like, holy cow, I have to do this now. Like, just the way that thing made me feel, I want to feel that way.
Yeah, and John Powell, right? John Powell is great. That's awesome. All right, do you ever write music that is just for you, not for a project?
Yeah, right now is like that period. I mean, I just finished this 6-year adventure on a thing, and I'm similarly lost where I'm like, all right, now it's time to just play. I mean, get a new synth that you're interested in, just mess around. I'm making very bad, very strange music right now that none of you will ever hear. It's making me very happy.
I hope we can get to hear it. Is it hard to balance that sort of personal side of writing with the business side of writing, doing it for a living?
Yeah, it's one of the great sort of conflicts, I think, as you move ahead in these fields where you're just like, you feel so much pressure where every second you spend in the studio has to have a purpose and has to lead somewhere, which I think is just kind of like a false pressure that we all put on ourselves in life in general. And I think like some of the great ideas that I stumbled into are accidents or strange things that didn't really have this like meta awareness of what label might release this, how will this stream, will my director approve it? It's just me messing around and something going, that's a cool, weird thing.
No, I agree with you. I think it's this idea of doing things, whether you think they're good or not, the idea of failing upwards, right? The more you fail, the better you get at what you do.
Very good at failing.
Yeah, we all are. We all are. That's the great thing that we all have in common. We all are terrible at it. Okay. How about favorite toy as a kid?
I don't know if this is cheating, but when I was a kid, the Game Boy just kind of hit the scene, and I was addicted. There's this picture my mom showed me. I'm from San Diego, so I was staying with my parents last night, and it's me I just have underwear on covered in chicken pox. Chicken pox. Just happy as could be. I think it must have been like Linked to the Past. It was like the gray old block, and I was addicted to that thing.
That's okay, so there's a theme here. When you're sick as a kid, you get a cool thing.
That's right. That's right.
I got a Game Boy, I got an LP. Okay. Favorite TV show growing up?
Yeah, I was gonna do the Batman animated series. It was just like, yeah. I'm gonna take a lateral move here and go Pokemon. That series was like right age, right time, waking up in the morning and seeing that thing, which just brought me a lot of happiness as a kid.
Did you collect the cards and all of that as well?
I collected them all, I caught them all, and I have none of the cards. I did not hold on to them. I lost them all.
Okay, wait, now what about when that game came out where you find them all over the place?
Yeah, that's Pokemon Go, right? Yeah. It didn't click for me as much. I mean, I see people like walking in traffic trying to get a slow pump. I had my time with them. It's time to let you guys have them.
All right, do you want to tell us about the clip you brought?
Yeah, so this is from Arcane. This is season 2, episode 3. This is a big epic song moment that I made with an artist called Wood Kid. It's one of my favorite scenes. It's a very surreal, crazy, messed up action sequence. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Is that how it aired? Like, I mean, is that at first I was like, wait, is this a montage? I'm like, oh, it's not a montage. Tell me about that scene.
Yeah, so the amazing thing about this show, and I'll love it till the day I die, I'm sad it's gone, is that they had us make basically like 2 full 4-minute music videos in every episode, and I would like film score them. I would just like write a song to picture, which is something I had never tried doing before, and it ended up being like one of my favorite experiences creatively I've ever had in my life, just like mapping these songs together.
And are you able to bring in the collaborators you want for them, the singers, anyone?
Yeah, and we invented a language and taught it to the kids choir. I got to sit in the theater with our sound design team and just battle with them and actually fight for space. It was crazy the amount of freedom. I'll never have that again.
Yes you will. Yes you will. Yes you will. You keep putting out stuff like that. Definitely have. That's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Brandon, here we go.
Ready.
Are we ready? First question. What score stops you in your tracks every time you hear it?
Empire Strikes Back.
What?
Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
It was like the first score I think I became aware of perfection to picture and then something you could listen to away from picture.
Yep.
And it's still to this day,
It's one of the best recorded scores, too, of its time. I think Eric Tomlinson recorded that score. I love it so much. And it's also just the gold standard for what a sequel could be, for me, in my opinion, because it brings back certain themes from the first, but then introduces all of this new material, which is just incredible. So, yes, agree. Empire Strikes Back. All right. Do you ever write music just for you?
Yes, but not as much as I'd like. I would say there's a graveyard of rejected cues from all of our gigs, right? And so we have these cues we think are going to be so cool, and then they say, no, thank you. And so sometimes I'll take those and kind of see where they would have gone away from the picture.
Really?
Yeah, so that's fun. But then a gig will pop up and that gets put aside real fast.
That is nice that you keep them. I have much more self-hatred. If they don't like it, I just say, you don't deserve to be here, and I delete it. It's going on forever, so I don't know what happens to that.
No, sometimes I'll go back and listen to them and go, how did I do that? That was a cool idea. And then but anyway.
Oh, that's great, okay. Favorite toy as a kid?
It sounds like I'm on some payroll. I'm gonna go with Rancor Monster. I had an original Rancor with he could turn his claw and he could carry some stuff. It's great. It's great. I still have it.
Still have it? I mean, imagine a time when life was so simple that just the claw turning and picking something up on a toy was enough to make someone happy.
In fact, the turn was just an arm that is.
That's literally all it took. Mom, look, it can pick things up. That's great. I miss those days. Okay, favorite TV show? As a kid.
Right, as a kid. It's a tie between G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Okay.
And they would cross-pollinate, like I would have battles with the G.I. Joe would fight the Transformers. It was way ahead of it in terms of,
You had the toys too? So...
Yes, I still have the toys.
Alright, excellent. You still have all your toys when you were there?
No, just the select favorites.
Okay. Does anyone else have toys? Do you still have yours? My mom's getting everything. Everything. I have every single toy that I've ever. Oh. She doesn't. Don't do that. Don't encourage her. Okay. And okay. Tell us about the clip you brought here.
So this is from Andor Season 2, episode, the big 208 episode. So this is a big massacre, and then the whole episode builds in this one moment, and then the rug gets pulled out from under everything. This character, who's been following for 2 seasons, kind of has an epiphany.
Alright, so I'm only on episode 5, so now that is spoiled everything.
Al's thinking, after walking over here, he's like, I just made it to 207. I'm like,
Wait, what are you doing? Sorry, but no, it's great. What I love about your work on the show is that it feels, in some ways, so untethered from Star Wars, right? And it's tethered, the thing it's tethered to is not so much the IP, it's tethered to the story and the characters, which is incredible. And it takes us into all these areas of Star Wars music that we've never heard before. Can you talk about kind of what kind of freedom you have in terms of where you want to take music and when you want to take it?
yeah, so, I mean, I had obviously the benefit of inheriting, like, the Nicholas Purtell's palace, so I kind of won the lottery. So I think he had done a lot of the heavy lifting on where stuff could go and what Star Wars music could be. But the big thing was, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, there's someone in this room that happened to write music for Rogue One, and so the marching orders were pretty clear, which was find a way to kind of segue palette-wise the music of Andor, which is not the musical palette of Rogue One or John Williams, and make it feel natural, that segue. So while hopefully trying to do honor to season 1 music and try to do honor to the story itself, then it also subtly segue to your score, which was its own set of fear, trying to get into you, but it was a wonderful kind of puzzle, and then the storytelling is so good that all you do is musically just hope every scene you can do honor to what the script was.
Yeah, and Tony talked about Tony Gilroy. What's it like working with Tony?
Wouldn't you know? It's great, and Tony is such a clear vision for the show, but then he's also a musician. I don't know if a lot of you guys know that, but he's a legit musician, so he would come over and work every cue together and say, oh, what if we bring this up? What if we do this? What if we try that? And all his suggestions were very musical. And so it was great. It was like being a little band.
Yeah, so sometimes when you're working with a director who is also musical, it can be the worst thing in the world. But with working with Tony, I found it to be the opposite. It sounds like you did too. He's just such a great communicator. It's all about communication with him. It's all about storytelling with him. So that's the thing I think a composer can really sink their teeth into.
Yeah, you get those moments too with him where you realize like he likes something you're doing because he just sits back in the chair next to you and he has that smile. Yeah. Yeah, this is working. It's gonna be a nice dinner that night.
That is awesome. All right, Brandon, thank you so much. Okay, Simon, you're up. You've had all this time to think. You want the best answers of anyone. Here we go. All right, what score stops you in your tracks every time you hear?
Later, 1.
Yes.
I was a synth guy, and that's what I started off as a session musician. I did synths. I always had synth. I wanted to use synths from when I was 13. I knew I wanted to do this job. And there was something about that Vangelis school where it showed what you could do with one note and how you could just beautiful themes and emotion and joy and heartbreak with such a limited palette, but it was entirely unique to the film. I think the thing he told me was that he had painted the world musically, and that was the thing that I loved most about it.
No, that's correct. I agree. You ever write music for yourself?
Yes, every cue, of course.
I was wondering if you didn't say that.
But yes, very so often you write concert works. The problem is it's easy because you're writing it for yourself, and therefore the challenge I find is actually not as difficult because everything you play is great.
You don't have all these people around to tell you what to do.
Whereas when you have somebody who says to you, write something 11 times, I'm like you, by the way, I have this discarded pile of bones that just sits there and I never look at them again. So, yes, but no.
All right. Favorite toy as a kid?
Well, this answers the second of the question next, which is the sonic screwdriver.
Wait, explain that?
I don't need to explain. If I have to explain it,
Hey, I didn't grow up with Doctor Who. You know, it was funny because when I was a kid, Doctor Who would come on, it would be late at night on public broadcasting.
yeah.
And it would be like Benny Hill, it would be the Monty Python, and then you would be Doctor Who, and we'd all be like, what is this show?
So you want to ask me the next question?
What's that? I'm going to talk about Doctor Who. All right, favorite...
The TV series.
Oh, there you go. All right, tell us about this thing you brought. You brought something fun for us today.
No, I have. So, by the way, I own the 10th anniversary.
Wait, I do have a question for you before we go to that, actually. And this, in reading up about you, you've worked with, this is ridiculous. Like, listen to Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones, Madonna, working on stuff like Seven, Amazing Spider-Man, Spectre, Skyfall, you worked with Barbra Streisand. It's like insanity, all of this stuff. It's incredible. And sometimes it says, you were arranging things, you were programming things. Explain to everyone when they see something like programming, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Sometimes we're helping the composer deliver their reality, their vision. There's a thing where, for instance, on The Amazing Spider-Man, I'm the score producer, and I was the lead arranger, and I'm helping James Horner in that case deliver the score. So it turns up, it sounds the way it should, and so on. There are things like on Titanic, I was the synthesizers, there was me and Ian Underwood, and people don't understand that Titanic, we had no money. So, no really, no money. So two-thirds of the score in Titanic is just synthesizers because we had no money. So I was the guy who made synthesizers sing, and therefore they hired me to work with Ian Underwood, who was another great synthesist, and James Horner's long time pal, to try and create scores. So we see a cue like Take the Scenes to Murdoch, which is when the ship leaves the port. You think of this as being big orchestral cue. When you actually listen to it, you'll find that of the 4.5 minutes or whatever it is, 3 minutes and 45 seconds are entirely synthesizers. And the last 45 seconds is orchestra because that's all that James could afford. and you get to, I was lucky that I would get to work with people for long periods of time. People would hire me not just for a single session, they would hire me for a whole film. So, working with John Barry was just seminal for me, as was, like Alan Sylvester, who did many things with him. And then Howard Shaw, I did his Dark Early 7 and things like that with Howard Shaw. And then you come to James Horner, who is suddenly, so I was lucky that I worked with people who also were thematic writers. And I think that's sort of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Set us up with this clip. What do we
Right. Later this year, we're going to release a film. And with Jim's blessing, I have brought a clip called the Wind Traders theme from Avatar Fire and Ash. Obviously, at this point, I can't show you visuals. To see any visuals, you'll have to go and see Michael's film tomorrow. Because at the front of Fantastic Four, there will be a trailer, and I do advise that you may want to go see it in IMAX 3D if you can, because it is mind-boggling. Not as mind-boggling as Fantastic Four. So, in the top Fire we will meet one of the new sets of people we will meet part of the Wind Traders. So, we put something together with some of the concept art for the Wind Traders and my theme for the Wind Traders.
Awesome, Sally. That was fantastic. What's cool is, like, while that was playing, I was thinking, how cool is it that we all get to sit in this room together and listen to these guys create music? Thank you so much. It was amazing. I guess I have to answer these questions to this. Okay. All right, Michael. What score stops you in your tracks every time you hear it? I'm going to say James Horner's Star Trek 2. Every time I hear that thing, it brings me right back to my 13-year-old self, and I get so excited. It's like the greatest seafaring Star Trek theme I've ever heard. It's the best. I love it so much. So there's that. All right. Yeah, give it up for James. Come on. Michael, do you ever write music just for you? Almost never. I'd like to do more of that. It's just hard to do that every once in a while. During COVID, I had an album that I put out. That was fun, but generally, yeah, I gotta do more of that. All right. Michael, what was your favorite toy as a kid? It would have to be probably all my Star Wars action figures. I still have them all in my office, lined up there from the thing.
You have a Rancor?
I do have a Rancor. I do have a Rancor. Yes, I do have a Rancor. And you know what? It was so cool because that hand. I have the Rancor. So those things are great. I used to play with them in the backyard. That's awesome. Favorite TV show growing up? This is gonna date me, but Dick Van Dyke Show. It's a toss-up between the Muppet Show and Dick Van Dyke, but I love the Muppets, but I gotta go with Dick Van Dyke because I feel like Dick Van Dyke taught me everything you need to know about comedy, timing, and even the music. There was so much in there, and the Muppets did the same. I'm cheating. All right, and I have a clip too, actually. I apparently have a movie coming out this week. May not have heard of it. It's called Fantastic Four. I don't know if it's a small independent movie. But we want to support those small movies, so here's a clip from that. It's got to be something way different than that. I said, and honestly, reading the script and seeing all this concept art made me think about movies like The Right Stuff, which I absolutely love, and Bill Conti did an incredible score on that. But it was also like, if we could take that feeling and mash it up with the Disneyland Electric Light Parade, I was like, that would make me the happiest person on earth. And he was like, that sounds great to me, let's do it with that, let's go with that. That to me felt like hope, it felt like optimism, it felt like what we love about Tomorrowland, you know, it's like all that stuff. So that was kind of why we headed down that path. And there you have it, Fantastic Four. So, so we'll get through as many as we can in the time we have left. And here we go, our first customer.
Hi, I've got a question for Simon. You obviously scored the Avatar films, but also some of your music is featured in the theme park. Is there something you approach differently when it's going to be a music theater in a movie theater versus where it's like installed in a physical space?
Yes, very much so. So we've got the theme park. I'm very, very proud of. If you Pandora will there's a couple of things. One is there are two types of costumes. There's the attractions in the rides. So Flights of Passage, which I don't know if anybody here has ridden the Flights of Passage. That point is you're trying to get, it's an emotional thing. We're doing that thing, trying to support the emotion and make it feel so that you only get the chance to go to ride this once in your life. I get to do it hundreds of times. And in that one time, you have to make it feel like it's the most exciting thing on Earth, or on Pandora in this case. And the point about that is, yes, you have to approach it in the way that also I was building a 3D world. when you're immersed in a complete world, you're putting things musically around and putting wood sprites in front of you so that you can hear them there. There are things you do in the park as well, so that you don't feel you're in Florida. We're putting the Na'vi singing in the forest and so on, and playing. There's 5 hours of music in the park. And yes, it's very much a different thing.
Thank you.
Queen.
We had one first, and it was Lincoln Park.
I was a big Rage Against the Machine fan, and then I'm like a huge Son Lux fan, so I like everything.
I was unfortunately vaguely into things like Killing Jokes, so they were bands that I didn't like.
Hi, this is a bit more of a musical question. Do you have, it could be a key signature, an instrument, particular key areas that you feel?
My groove. I've always thought that you have to get the head bob going. And therefore, that's an important part. Getting your arse moving and then everything else will come. For me, that I think is the way that I use rhythm, the way that I build textures, because I put lots of theirs in there.
And Michael?
Relating to lots of things like this, I think that there's certain chord progressions that I just love, that I absolutely love, and it's a challenge to try and see, all right, what else can you do with this chord progression outside of what you've already done? That's kind of a fun thing. And there's a couple of synth pads. There's one pad that I have been using for a million years, Lonely Road, and it's just like this simple synth pad that I just love. And I love layering it on top of strings and things like that. And that turns up in almost everything. And I'm like thinking about the poor archaeologist one day. It's going to be like, what the hell is this Lonely Road thing? Yeah, what's that? You're saying?
I'm an archaeologist.
Oh, well, we love archaeologists. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Hi. As a musician myself, electronic music is getting really good, especially new technologies can really emulate the techniques of a fresh musician. So, and actually, like I know you support musicians at play, which lets young people, get exposed to the studio situation. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts and opinions on how we can keep the human element in the performance of your soundtracks?
Look, I think that people want to see people do things. People don't necessarily, right? And you're talking about AI and all this stuff. These are going to be tools that people will then use to do things with. And I think that that's what's interesting about art, is seeing what the individual does with the tool. If the tool is just all on its own, making the things by itself, I don't see a world where people are going to go watch that in concert. It might be a novel thing, but I do believe it's all about the artist and what the artist does with the tool. Tools have always evolved over the years for us artists. This is just another example of that, so we just need to make sure we keep all that stuff in line with being a tool for what we want to do, what we want to create.
I was watching an interview with Jack Antonoff recently where he song producer for those, he's huge. But he was talking about ELO and his how whenever they would come into the studio and pick out a synth, it was new at the time, and so there's the sound of the human struggling with the machine, and that's kind of where the emotion comes from. And I really like the idea of that. So I love working with live musicians because they bring a humanity and emotion and just something that I could never put into it all by myself. And so I think when you have that kind of struggle between human and machine, it kind of creates some interesting things.
I was a session musician before I was composing, and I did records as well. And the one thing I know is that it's better to hire people better than you. And I did 16 years of ballet, and I was still an instrument of torture at the end of 16 years. when you hear a great orchestra play, or when you hear a great guitarist play, or great drama, it's just something that you feel transcendent, and they're giving their spirit, of their warmth, and of their musicianship. And I come from that world. I think to lose that, you lose also the random chaos. It's an essential part of what we do, which is when other people bring things to the party. And I love that.
All right, we have time for one more question here. So, as you know, the last question is the most important. It has to be the most thought-provoking, emotionally, challenging thing that we can hear. So everyone leaves with this. Wow, that last question is amazing. Here we go.
Well, to sort of jump off what you mentioned earlier, you talked about how you wanted the score for Fantastic Four to be different from Incredibles. If all you guys could talk about what goes through your mind process, or when you're trying to think about creating different scores or songs to different types of projects, be it different films, different TV shows, different episodes working. What do you think about when you try to create something that's different from something you've already done?
I like something you said earlier, which is, a lot of times you're getting some of these scenes and there's reference music or temp music, and it can be incredibly helpful when you're working with your creative leads about like what are they looking for. But I always find that when you just dive into the story, like what are these characters experiencing, like what's happening here, and just stop thinking about the outer world. That's always my portal into like actually inventing an original idea, rather than just making a safe move and making something that might technically work, but it might also not really be that related to it. And I think every time you just like dig that extra level deep into what is this story, that's like home base. That's like where you can really start to like make cool, authentic and spontaneous decisions that are just gonna like fly and just start to really feel like they're embedded in the project.
Yeah, another important thing is committing to what you're scoring. So just because you're seeing certain footage on screen doesn't mean that's what you're scoring. You could be scoring the emotion behind it, and that could apply to an entire film. And so I think I just found, and then pacing, everything from how something's edited to the look of that all communicates and communicates the direction musically, and over time and over communicating with directors and everything, you wind up kind of honing in on what the palette is and what works. But every film you think, oh man, I got it, and then you start a new film, and it feels like you're starting from scratch every time. I don't know if it's easier for you guys, but I feel like the beginner in every single film.
Yeah.
I mean, to echo a bit of what Alex was saying, yeah, it's all about the characters. I mean, like on the Penguin, I started with kind of, all right, Oz is someone who wants to be in this higher social class than where he is right now, and which is what drew me to the string quartet. But he's also impulsive and insane and frenetic as well, and so it kind of brought this demonic string quartet with a trash percussion, because kind of see trash as well. But using those character traits to kind of find musical ways to represent them is usually always my starting place.
I mean, I think the film tells you what to write, and the problem is it spit things out that it doesn't like. And for me, it's a thing that I have to write something that feels like the film gets better with the music that I've got. And I don't want that music to feel like it should be on some other film. It should be absolutely knit into the fabric of the one I'm working on. And from that means the themes have to reflect the film as well. So you get told by the film that this is not very good. And eventually the film tells you that this is working. And that's what I find.
Couldn't agree more. And I think that is all we have time for today. I am sorry. I know. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say, what would all of you give as a piece of advice to a brand new Berkeley College of Music graduate who's independent production and recording?
Okay, I think I'll just do that one real quick. Make things with your friends. You just went to school with all these people that want to make movies and do stuff. Stay with them, make stuff together, because you will rise up together. That's how